So I show up at the apartment, and my first sign that something might have been going, something I might have misread something, is that he's like, hey man, just come sit down. He's got like all this food and his music playing. I know they're like, they're like hip and modern and stuff like that. And this one guy is like, how long you been here? I was like, yeah, I'm doing good. He's like, I don't know, I've been here such and such. He was like, yeah, I'm like, how you like it around? He's like, I effing love it. Like he just starts. I'm like, that's
weird for a Bible study.
Random, and I got purpose. Things coming together so beautifully. One day, it all makes sense. Just you wait and see. Take this journey with me. Purposely random. Purposely random. Purposely random. Purposely
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Angela Lise, and this is my podcast, Purposely Random. Today, I have a super special guest, my good friend since the pandemic, because, he created this group or whatever. The Lord, put it on his heart, and now we were able to align. His name is Khan. I'll get into that in a second. But if this is your first time joining the podcast, this is a podcast where we talk about intra and interpersonal skills development, mental health, being a Christian, loving the Lord. Sometimes I sing a little bit here and there. But today we're going to be talking about the toxic appeal, a little bit about cults, and really like how you connect during the pandemic, even though, it's still a pandemic out here, but they're trying to loosen up these guidelines, and I don't know. Anyways, Khan, tell the people about yourself, please.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I feel like I'm a lot less special than that was built up. But
all right.
But no, my name's Khan. I'm originally from New York. Basically, I tell people I'm from the Bronx because a lot of people don't know where Yonkers is, but I feel like they do now. Rest in peace, X. But yeah. So I'm originally from New York. I had an idea. Just kind of as the pandemic kicked up, I just kind of realized, there's really not a lot of room, like, because I've been looking for I'm a Christian, I've been looking for some Christian fellowship, and I said, hey, there really is not a lot of nowhere really where like young Black Christians can kind of get together, because I wanted just some Christian fellowship and to not have to deal with all the stuff that can come with that. In some other circles, I'll leave it at that. I came up with Young Black and Christian. So I just kind of came up with this. I like made the group and then started talking to like a few of my friends I had made in like other Christian groups, which were just dating groups, because that's a thing that exists on Facebook. And so I don't know how many months it's been. It hasn't been a year. It's been
it's coming up though soon, right? You started it August.
We launched September.
Okay.
I created it in August, but we launched in September. So like September, basically the first week of September, and we are almost at 1.5 thousand members. So
listen.
God is good. So I'm I don't know, like if they need to know, like I'm like a writer by trade. I'm a consultant. I wear a lot of different hats. None right now, but I wear a lot of different hats.
None right now. Khan is amazing. Like when I tell you, when I started the group, it was maybe 500, something like that, near there, somewhere like that. And it just has grown and grown and grown. And I know I talk about the podcast. You guys should not be a stranger to YBC. Talk about it all the time. The other episode I had Janine, which is one of the mods actually of the group. So they will be pretty familiar. And this is the person God used. I was trying to point to you with my hand, but can't work with it. But this is the person that God used to do that. And I'm so excited to talk about with you, like attraction to people, because like you and I have talked about that here and there. You were like, I just find it so interesting. And I was like, I find it interesting, but the way that you kind of broke it down, I was like, I got to know more about that. So can you speak a little bit about why like you find attraction and what like attraction means to you, like break it down into like micro?
Yeah, so like you said, we were talking, and I've always been fascinated with what people are like, why people like attraction in general. So like why people are attracted to what they're attracted to, what they're attracted to, you know, that can lead you to some pretty like not safe for work corners. But just I'm here for it sometimes just to understand, hey, what's going on? Like why is this a thing? What do you like here?
Right.
You know, I think in particular, I don't think this is sexist, but I feel like women have far more interesting reasons behind why they're attracted to people, or at least they're able to articulate better why they're articulated to certain people. I think men sometimes, you know, you ask them, hey, why do you like her? It's like, you know, like it's just,
so
you know,
much
it's just
description,
just noises or whatever. Oh, why do you think? And it's like, no, I really don't know. Like there's multiple women who look like that. Why did you choose this particular one?
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I had a friend one time who said he was attracted to women who look like they would work on a farm. And I mean, to this day, I mean, if I live to be 100, I don't think that would be my portion, but you know, it's fascinating. It was just like, wow, you know, and I just, you know, not to get into like all of his like neuroses and stuff like that. When I look at kind of like the life he's lived, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense, actually. You know, just some certain things that he experienced in childhood and just kind of some ways he conceptualizes womanhood and some of the people he was exposed to. It kind of makes sense once I think about it. Like, you know, as I kind of look back on it. So it's just, attraction is fascinating. I love, even when I look at my own relationships, I recently found out, actually, you don't know this, we didn't talk about this. Like I was recently able to like describe my type for the first time really in my life.
Wow.
Literally just brought that up right now. Don't know if I feel like talking about it on podcast, but I'll talk about it. I'll talk around it.
Okay. We can edit it. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll talk around it. It'll be fine. But yeah. Sorry, that was all over the place. But it was purposely random.
Yay! Shout out to the podcast. Don't know which way to point.
Gang. I'm probably not pointing to it, but I'm pointing to it on the screen. Yeah. We're not doing well with the pointing. Right?
It's fine. We're good. Friends of the pods know. So you were talking about you were finally able to describe your type, which is crazy news. I'm super excited to hear about. So what's that?
Oh boy, I'm gonna find a way to explain this that doesn't sound super weird.
Right.
I think I think like when I finally looked back at it, I was like, I'm attracted to femininity. I'm attracted to, you know what? I think part of it was how I realized it was that I had to realize how I like to conceptualize myself and my masculinity. I think all of these things that, and just to kind of for the benefit of the podcast, I think these are all things that men need to do. I think men need to explore their sexuality. When I say that, there's a very specific thing that men might think about. But what I mean by that is just understand how you conceptualize yourself, what you like. And I think that would make men a lot happier, at least straight men. I don't know what LGBTQ men are doing, but at least straight men, I think that would make a lot of us a lot more happy in our relationships. I think we're sometimes getting stuck into traps where we're talking to certain women and we're getting into these cycles that are very toxic. And we don't know why. Like, I think a lot of men often, I say, the way I word it is, I say a lot of men date for other men.
Yes, facts.
What I mean by that is that men will try to get the best looking girl or the woman who is most valuable in their eyes. And it's all silly because, you know, Jennifer Aniston was voted like the most sexiest woman in the world back in the 90s. And I just know by no. Yeah. That's not my thing at all. Like, but I mean, remember who's the big squarehead man? Blake Shelton. You remember when Blake Shelton got like sexiest man alive on like People, right? Like, there's a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm not seeing that one. I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, who else is alive? Because I don't know if that was your best choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was looking at other people I knew was alive, and I was like,
I don't know. This one, I saw that, and I was like, dang, I should have put my name in because.
listen, are y'all taking auditions?
I thought the competition was a lot stiffer than that, actually. But you know, I might have got third place or something like. But yeah. So I think men in particular were really bad at straight men are really bad at dating women who were actually attracted to. But,
yeah,
I think it started just with me kind of conceptualizing myself or whatever, and I just, you know, I'm almost 6'2". I'm a big guy. And I'm a big guy, and I enjoy feeling like a big guy, like in my relationships. And I was like,
yeah.
And I think I described it to someone like I like feeling like a dungeon beast or something. Like I like feeling
that's real,
just like a beast. And I thought about it, and I was like, my type is a fairy.
Huh?
Like I sat back and I was like, I'm looking for someone who is the exact opposite of me.
Right. Okay. I was going to say, make that plain because I don't know if everyone will get it.
Yeah, like I'm going through like my old relationships, and I'm like, they're all like under 5'5". Like they all like laugh a lot, or very like whimsical. They're all, you know, like they're all pretty. They're all like kind of almost ethereal. And I'm like thinking about it. Like once I thought about like the word fairy is what came to my mind. Like, and so like I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I have an ex with pink hair. And I'm just like, oh, this is a thing. This is a recurring thing. So yeah. I don't know. I realized that not the other day, it was a couple of months ago. But I was just like, sheesh, that I knew no rest, because I started like looking at like all my old crushes, and I was like, it's here. I have an ex who cosplays for a living now. Like literally.
Yo, she sounds cool. Cosplaying is tight. You know, I love cosplay.
Those are two different people, by the way. And I'm just like, oh snap! Like this is the thing. This is really a thing. So yeah. Sorry, that's just what I realized.
I'm here for it. I think that what you touched on was really such a key element. Doing the work to find out what you like, not dating for other people and what they think that you should have, but what are you attracted to, and finding out the why. Of what that is. Like you said, you like to feel like you are the protector, the guard of the dungeon. Like if someone tries to come and challenge and take the princess or the fairy or the enchanted forest, you know, they try to take over that enchanted forest, you are there. I'm just following your line of thinking.
No, you're correct. It's funny to hear it out loud.
You are there. I'm here for it though. That sounds so awesome. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I did not read the books because, like, quick aside, was on a first grade reading level in 6th grade. That's when those books came out. Traumatic. One day I'm gonna go read these books, but I've seen all the movies. I said all that to say, what I was thinking about when you said you like to guard you like to be the guarder of the dungeon, I kept on thinking of like the 3-headed dog. I forget what this dog's name is. But
maybe Cerberus. I don't know.
Something like that. Sorry, y'all.
Probably, yeah.
Ravenclaw gang, but also my bad. I don't know the thing's name.
Slytherin gang. I'm also like, I'm not even into fantasy. Like, I mean, like I'm kind of sort of, but like I'm really more of like a futuristic sci-fi type guy. Like, and I just thought about it. I was like, dang, this is where I'm at. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The little the 3-headed monster, the guy.
Yeah, quick aside, I got another quick aside offline. I got some Black sci-fi stuff for you if you want to check that out. That's set in the future. Audiobooks, we both love audiobooks, by the way. Con is just tight. I'm trying to tell you, like, look at how cool he is. He's got the Dungeon Dragon Masters, all that stuff. He's got the audiobooks attraction. Like, he is such a great, well-rounded person. And so for him to take the time, and for you, let me talk to you, for you to take the time to figure out how you work, what you're attracted to. What I found interesting is that you did the work and you found out the positives of that. For me, I'll bring my own stuff. The people on the podcast already know this. Your girl is attracted to trash. And I know that it's a lot of that has to do with me. I'm like, girl, you need to heal what is going on with you. You know, why do you want to be the dungeon master when you want to be I want to be the fairy. I want somebody to protect me in the enchanted forest. You know what I mean? I want somebody to be my knight in shining armor instead of being the knight. You know, because I be over here dating people ain't got no car, barely got a job. I'm like, girl, that is so toxic. What is going on with that? So I know that you're not like an expert, but what do you think?
In terms of like toxic relationships, so you find a lot of guys, I'm like a nerd, if you couldn't tell by that earlier example that I laid out. But
not at all. What?
But you find especially a lot of nerdy guys, but it's not just nerdy guys. A lot of guys talk about how women only want to date jerks. Women only want to date guys who the thugs and stuff like that. And so some women do enjoy guys who are thugs and sometimes even toxic. And there's reasons for that. So I always tell guys when they say that women are only interested in thugs, I say, one, did you ask all of them?
Right.
Two, two, more importantly, if you've talked to, a woman who's attracted to thugs is a woman who's often attracted to masculinity. And at the core, that's really what she wants. Now, this is how she's come to understand masculinity, and that is toxic, right? It's a toxic version of masculinity. But the one thing about a guy who we would call a thug is that he is masculine. Like, that is a guy who doesn't take any stuff. Like, he is a guy who's not afraid to confront you on certain things. He's going to carry himself in a certain way. He's got style. So there are non-toxic things, I think, that we want in our toxic relationships. We kind of, sometimes it takes a little soul searching to look at, well, what is it that I like? I would say, honestly, one of the downsides to me in the fairy thing is that I can get so distracted by the magic, sort of speak, of the woman, that I may miss some very major red flags. Like, some things that are like, oh no, that's a problem. And like, we need to sit down and have like a non-magical conversation about this. Like, let's talk about that. So I can say that from my example. With you, that could be it. I think it could also, boy, yeah.
Oh Lord, he said, Angela, listen.
Because I'm trying to like think about like what is that?
I ain't gonna make you dive deep into your break, because I feel like that would be probably a 48 hour intervention.
I did want to say this. We're often like who you attract is like, sometimes you don't have a whole lot of room.
Yeah.
So you might be attracting guys. I think all of us attract a certain amount of trash. It's just kind of picking through the trash and finding a recyclable, something that shouldn't have been in the trash to begin with. Yeah. I think that's what could be happening too. That you might be attracting guys and it's no real,
Well, part of it is like, I don't know, Utah, all the black, because I love me some black men. I ain't trying to get these white boys. I ain't trying to get these Mexican boys. I want me a black man. And all of them are like imported, but a lot of the times they are just rebuilding, and that's not good. I don't want nobody rebuilding. I want somebody that's kind of established, you know what I'm saying? So that way, but I know that a lot of that, like, me finding that window is because I wanted to help them, and I felt my value was attached to being a helper. And now I'm learning like how to like be like, no, it's okay for you to like establish those things and then like come catch me when you're done. But I still got some remnants popping up, and I'm like, you know what? I thought we were past this. I thought I was on level 66 and I'm still back at level 2. What's happening? Anyway, it is stuff out here. I think that another thing that I found is that there's these pieces of you, obviously from your childhood. If you go to therapy, you'll recognize this. Therapy is amazing. But it talks a lot about your childhood, and a lot of these things come from like you surviving and you trying to like fix sometimes your childhood. And I know that sometimes I want to be that helper because that's what I was when I went to elementary school. Like, there was these new kids in school, and I was valuable because I was like, hey, I'll be your friend. I'll help you bridge this gap. And I'm finding here in my almost 31 years of life, I'm still yet chasing that toxic behavior of like, let me help you and then be okay with you leaving. But also like, there's this piece of me that leaves with you. I got a little bit of abandonment issues. I ain't gonna hold you.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's deep. So I kind of want to now, it's because it's getting kind of deep for me. I'm like, maybe I need to like sit down and think a little bit about this, which I love about our conversations. It makes me think. Let's switch gears because I want to have some fun. I want to talk about some other crazy people because
I might have been very loud. Sorry.
That's fine. Listen. Let's talk about some other crazy people. Woo! Let's talk about cults. Con and I love cults. Like, he sends me videos of the cults. He's like, yo, you got to check out Vice. I was like, wait, Vice is on such and such, because I had gotten rid of my cable. And he's like, girl, it's on Hulu. And I was like, what? It's on Hulu? Because I need to hear about these cults. So, Con, why do you like cults? What's wrong with us? Why do we like these cults so much, man?
I think in addition to my fascination with human attraction, I'm also just fascinated by human behavior. And why people behave the way they do, why they do what they do. It's fascinating to me. Yeah, and I think too, as a Christian, I almost feel like Christians are a little hyper vigilant sometimes about cults and cult behavior. I have been to a lot of churches. I don't know if we've ever actually had this conversation, but I have been a member at probably it's definitely like more than 7 different churches.
I wasn't getting into no relationship with the church. Let me just say this: I would visit some churches, but I ain't gonna be no member.
Yeah, and I think that might make me sound like a church hopper, but I think it's really that God has kind of had me in seasons at different places, and in different ministries, and just kind of moved me into different zones. So I've been to a lot of different churches. I've visited a lot, and even more churches. I've probably visited a church in almost every major denomination. I don't think I've been to a Lutheran church, and I think that is about it. I've been almost everywhere else.
I'm trying to think if I have. I might have.
They're kind of hard to find. They're not super popular because, to be honest, they don't sound very fun. Just being blunt. So they're not super popular. And they're also like kind of Calvinistic, which usually doesn't lend itself to a lot of growth. Sorry, nerding out. But I'm fascinated by groups, and I've definitely been in some churches and seen some cult-like behavior. This is a problem, and this needs to be addressed, because if this is not checked here, it can lead into this. I remember hearing one time, Jubilee is the YouTube channel. They do those like spectrums and the middle ground series, if you ever seen those. I have sometimes my own feelings about those. But one of them I thought was really interesting. They do this thing called spectrum. They take a group of people and they read out a statement, and you stand where you agree, whether strongly agree, strongly disagree, stuff like that. And they had former cult members in one of these episodes. Fascinating stuff. One guy said something that really stuck with me. He said, I feel like anything can be a cult. He said, I feel like businesses are cults sometimes. Workplaces are cults. Like, I thought that was fascinating. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm listening to you. I was just like, yeah, right. I feel like something you touched on, which I agree with what that person said, anything can very much so be a cult, especially when people start to lean onto someone else's interpretation, especially like a lot of these cults, like no one else reads the sacred scripts, or no one else has any ability to question things. And if you do question, you're punished. Like Scientology, one of the biggest ones that I looked into, you cannot look at anything other than the films that they have, like especially if you're in the Sea Org, because Sea Organization, which by the way, people in Scientology, y'all are going to a science fiction writer talking about, like, what are y'all doing? Anyway,
wow,
it's so wild. And like, you cut off your family a lot of times. So anyone that questions you, you cut off. And that's the biggest thing. You lose your support system. You're totally dependent on these other things. And I think that what I would say is, even in the Christian realm, because a lot of the times they start off with a little bit of Christ, a little bit of the Bible, and then they sprinkle in their own stuff. Like there's this one, the Jim Jones one. I was like, hold up, he can kind of preach. Listen, the songs too. I was like, this is kind of slapping. I could see why they were, hey, let me go see about, where you going. I could see.
Sorry.
No.
I be saying stuff sometimes. It comes out of my mouth. And I'm like, what is that? What is that?
It's purposely random, man. They're used to the vibes. Started talking about Christ. Yes. Started doing the slapping songs, and also you're in the middle of the ghetto. Come on, blacks. Yes. That shocked me the most out of any other cult that I've ever seen. Black people. I was like, black people in this cult. That ain't us. Like, what is we doing? So, but you have told me, Khan, he told y'all before he's a writer, he journalist, doing all that. Yeah. Khan was telling me some stories about some other cults, and I was like, what is happening? Like, tell me a little bit about not like a crazy one, but what's your most lightweight, like, I heard about this cult.
Interesting cult. Most not terrifying.
Yeah, not all the way out there, but like, just like what they was out here doing. What?
Ooh, that is interesting. Dang, that's tough. Because like all the really wild ones is like, oh, and then 50,000 zillion people died at the end of it. But I am thinking, so the one that does come to my mind is the Yellow Turban cult, that basically led to the formation of China. This is way back when. We're talking, I believe this is BC. I could be wrong, but I believe this is BC. Some cult leader, the Way of Heaven, I believe, was the name of the group in China. He formed a cult, and he basically said, that. So the Chinese used to believe, and I guess maybe some still believe, but used to believe in this concept of the mandate of heaven. And so whenever they had like an empire, like the Jin dynasty, the Ming dynasty, whatever, they believed that the dynasty had the mandate of heaven, and basically the mandate of heaven meant everything was going well. And because everything was going well, heaven said that this is okay, everything is good, everything is Gucci. But once what they did was, whenever like things would stop going well, they would say, hey, I think that these guys have lost the mandate of heaven, and they would overthrow them and start a new one. That's just Chinese history in a nutshell. So what happened was, he starts this cult, and he says that the Han dynasty has lost the mandate of heaven, and I am like heaven's oracle, and I need to take over now. And so he just raises an army. They have like different religious beliefs than anybody else in China. And so the Han dynasty puts together a group of warlords to put him down. These group of warlords grow in power. One of them actually kidnaps the emperor and starts what's called the Three Kingdoms era. Nerdy.
I'm here for it.
This is how the Qing dynasty, I believe they were called, starts, and that eventually leads to the formation of China as like one group of people, because like China was just like a bunch of different states, and like I don't think anybody really had a concept of like what China is. It was just like, I don't know, we're just all kind of living here, and like it's like they had different peoples. And so I thought that they were pretty interesting and not like depressing, because they lead to the formation of modern day China. They are the reason we have a civil servants exam. Also that this also comes out of that time period. But yeah, anyways, history there too.
I love that. Come on now, give us a little history. I like it. What I love about what you shared, a lot of these times people's lives are just devastated, and to have something so fruitful, even if it ended up being super flawed, and there's a lot of things like in China, like I don't know everything, so I ain't trying to talk too bad about them, but like there's a lot of things that go on there with what they established. But it is cool that like people's lives are not being destroyed, because that's what you hear a lot of times in these cults. It's like people that are no longer in these cults, their lives are horrible, rock bottom, and then thank the Lord, they're able to pull back and help other people a lot of the times with sharing their story. what helps you avoid, joining a cult or whatever? Because we said anything could be a cult. So first of all, what would be your cults? Like, just not like your actual, like, I'm going to start a cult or whatever, even though it sounds low-key fun. What would you say is your like cult, like maybe your fandom or something? And then what actually helps you not join a real cult?
Like a cult fandom. I don't know that I'm in any anymore. Anymore. So like I used to be. I used to want to talk about toxic. I used to be a fan of the Joe Budden podcast. And I've always been, because I've always been the kind of person who, like, when I come into like a new situation, I like to kind of just sit back and look around and see what's going on. And young Joathan kind of had a little cult going on there. I don't know that we should call it that strongly.
Yeah.
But because Joe Budden is a very charismatic character, and he had a really successful show that just literally just ended like this week. It was a little cult like. So like I was following like him and his accounts, and then eventually I started following. There's a Joe Budden podcast account. There's like a Joe Budden podcast memes account, and then at some point someone was like, hey, if you want to join a Joe Budden group chat, then like this tweet.
You're like, I'm liking the tweet right now.
I joined a group chat. I met a lot of great people, most of whom have now left it way before all of this happened. But it was feeling a little culty because it just felt like everyone kind of took their cues ultimately from Joe Budden. So yeah, it was kind of like that. And I mean, just, I don't know, he said like one too many stupid things that kind of irritated me, so I turned it off. I think I was in that. In terms of like how to avoid cults, so the thing that you want to look for in cults, is there ever a monopoly on the truth? Are they arguing that they are the monopoly on the truth? Do they partner with anyone else? Are they willing to expose you to anyone else? And is there a kind of cutting off of other people? So I would say definitely look for a monopoly on the truth. I don't know that I'm always leery whenever anyone says that, starts talking about how no other pastors are preaching the truth except for me. That always sets me on edge. And they may not say it that explicitly, but once they start running down all the different churches that are not preaching things right, they're not getting it right. This one's not getting it right. That one's not getting it right. I get a little leery. You also want to look for, speaking of just toxicity, you also want to look for behavior that reminds you of an abusive relationship. Or a toxic relationship, where there's you're not just loved and accepted. There's always a threat that you will be removed. There's always a threat that you're not going to make the mark. Just things like that. Be very careful about that. Look for sometimes, and every organization needs to have some of its own lingo. But just be careful with that if you see a lot of language that you can't explain to anyone else.
Right.
I worked in news for 7 years, and yes, if I start talking about VOSATs and BVOs and MOSs, that's going to sound like a bunch of nonsense, but it would take me 5 minutes, if that, to explain almost every bit of terminology I've heard in news. But when it's just a lot of, did you do your ding dongs is assassin frasses or something. I don't know. Like if there's just a bunch of like just jargon, like you just get hit with a bunch of jargon straight up, in the beginning. Be careful with that. I don't know. I don't think this is toxic. I'm like kind of leery when people just be grinning at me, right? Like when
that's
I've
weird.
just never met you before, and you're coming in and you're treating me like the best person in the world. I'm leery because I'm from New York. I feel like you're gonna rob me. So like I just be careful of that too. I don't know, those are just the kind of a few things off the top of my head. So just kind of be careful. Just look at how people treat you. Anytime you go somewhere, man, just sit and be quiet for a little bit and just watch, talk to God. Just watch for a little bit, see what's going on, and say, okay, Okay. This is that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would also say if they start asking you for money right off the rip, oh, we'll give you this test free. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, $50K for this next test so you can level up. It's like, all right, that's probably most likely cool. Also, it could be a Ponzi scheme, you know. Just don't do that.
There's a big cross section actually between cult behavior and pyramid scheme behavior.
Pyramid schemes. That's what I meant to say. I said Ponzi scheme, but
it's the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Ponzi and pyramid is some with a P, well, not everything, but you know, pyramid scheme.
Okay. What else was I gonna say to add on to yours? So smiling in your face, that's true too. And also, if they ask you to slap somebody or lick some dirt, get out of there. You don't need to lick dirt to overcome your fear. Just don't lick the dirt. I feel like that's fine. Like, you don't need to be eating dirt.
Listen, man, if anybody ever, like, and I live by this, don't ever challenge me with, like, well, we may have to kick you out of here. Right. Because I'll leave. I will leave so quickly. Like, it's out of control. I will get up and just go. Oh, okay, go work. Boom. Yeah. I'm gone. So anytime they start, you know, well, you'll never be able to come back in here unless you do X, Y, and Z. Don't do X, Y, and Z. Just get up and leave. just get up and leave. No church is going to threaten you like that, you know, about like getting out. No church that's worth their salt and like, you know, is real is going to threaten you about leaving. Nobody is rushing people to get out of churches. Like that's not a healthy, if that's what's happening, you're in a really unhealthy spot. You need to get up out of it.
Yeah, you need to get out fast. This one, the last closing thing I'm going to say about these cults and this portion, man, I can't do too many. You have to meet my friends. I feel like one, you have to meet my friend. I'm like, okay, that might be a good networking connection. But if you meet that friend, it's like, oh, let me show you my other friend. He's got this. Now, see, that sounds cultish to me. Why I gotta meet all these people, huh? Why?
That's a very funny story. So I was going to this church that was just out of my comfort zone. It was. It was predominantly white. It was different. I hadn't really been in a space like that, you know. And then there was good stuff happening there. This just happened to happen there. So I met this one guy, you know. So I was affiliated with the 20 somethings in ministry and college ministry, and so at some point, you know, one of the guys, I don't know if I misheard him or what, but I was under the impression that he said, hey, you want to come hang out, like, you know, one of these days, like we're gonna have a Bible study in his house. I thought he said Bible study. Maybe I clearly missed something. I missed something clearly. So
what happened? Because
maybe I just missed the red flag. But so I show up. This was I was living in Charleston, South Carolina. I show up in downtown Charleston with my little Bible. It's also like my anime Bible is like really ridiculous. It's like the only Bible I have in my house now. It's really funny. But it's a manga Bible, and like there's like just manga comics in the middle of like just anime style Jesus. It's very funny. And the reason I kept it is it was my first New Living Translation. Okay. So I'm like reading it. I'm like, oh wow, this is actually really good. Like so now it's like my Bible. So I think I brought that downtown. So this is my life. So I show up at the apartment, and my first sign that something might have been something I might have misread something is that he's like, hey man, you know, just come sit down. He's got like all this food and there's music playing. And I know they're like, you know, they're like hip and modern and stuff like that. And this one guy is like, you know, how long you been here? I was like, yeah, I'm doing good. He's like, I've been here such and such. And he was like, yeah, you know, I'm like, how you like it around here? He's like, I effing love it. Like he just starts. I'm like, that's
weird for a Bible study. Right.
And then like more people file in. There's just like a whole bunch of people in here just eating snacks and stuff. I was like, I don't think this is a Bible study. And then he's like, all right, guys, before I would need everybody to sit down for a little bit. He sits down and he goes, so we want to talk to you about a business opportunity.
Okay. Yep.
So like, what was it, Vimo or one of those, like the energy drink one, and they show us a video for the pyramid scheme. And I'm sitting here with my anime Bible.
He said, I thought we were talking about Jesus not selling energy drinks.
I thought we were talking about the Trinity, not the
energy.
not the pyramid.
I was talking about the living water, not selling vitamin water. Come on now.
I was talking about the holy oil, not the essential oils. Then he's like, in the video, they said, if you sign up, you get like a BMW. And he's like, yeah, it's all true. I got a BMW right here. Like, he shows off his keys.
Oh my goodness.
And then they get ready to watch a UFC fight. I clearly misread this situation. Something crucial. Oh boy. Yeah.
I got a quick story about my experience with that same type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this lady at church, first of all. It's like, oh, I got a great opportunity for you. Don't tell me about no great opportunities for me. And then can we go to a dinner? Why we got to go to a dinner? If it's a great opportunity, tell me now. Anyway, she's like, oh, I'm going to take you to lunch. Takes me to lunch. I just want you to come to this little party that we're having and, see what you think. And I was like, listen, I ain't going to sell anything. I ain't going to tell anything about it. So I don't know why you're inviting me. She's like, well, you could just look at it. I went and looked at it, but they didn't have no snacks like you. I feel jealous. They didn't have no snacks. They just had a movie. I was like, man, I could have kept this. You could have kept this. Speaking of keeping this, I kind of want to close out with talking a little bit. We touched about it before, talking about like internet friends, starting a group on social media, almost at 1.5K. I'm just trying to say,
that's wild.
It's out here. The growth is just expanded over the months. I think it's amazing to see how that has happened. How has your life changed other than that during like the pandemic? Like, and what do you think things that you'll take forward as things go back to somewhat of a normal pace? And what things are you like, all right, I can't wait to get out of this?
Yeah, wow. How have things changed since it's been over a year now since the pandemic started? Boy, where do I start? I am in a whole new career than I was when I started. I was in news. You can imagine what that was like for the pandemic. And I was in it. I was in it for the pandemic and for the 2020 election. So life was something. My whole journalism career was just the Trump administration, which regardless of how you feel about him, was an interesting time to be in news. So yeah, my career has changed. I now do freelance work, and I'm starting to wonder if I will ever go back to a 9-to-5. I kind of got another opportunity today that I'm probably going to follow through on.
So, yeah, let's get a quick testimony. Thank you, Jesus, for the opportunity. You opened up the doors, God. We didn't even know that the doors existed, God, but you opened them right up, God, and we thank you for making a way out of what? No way. Amen. Okay, sorry. I just had to praise him.
You're fine. So, I mean, I sometimes I'm wondering if I'm even supposed to head back into like a 9-to-5. I have a lot of experience in social media now that I wasn't expecting to get, but it's now kind of there. I became a licensed minister partway through the pandemic. That's where that happened. I just kind of looked around. It was like, oh, this is. And then especially like, I mean, I made decisions before like June hit. We had the service, kind of the ordination service in June. You know, that was before like all the protest hit or whatever. And I was like, kind of feels like might need to go ahead and make this happen. But I had felt the call back when I was like 15. So it just took me quite some time to answer it. So, I mean, I'm now a minister. My life is very different. I'm even interested in things I wasn't interested in before. I think it took me a while to really hit a rhythm with the pandemic. I know, like, I don't know if you felt like this, but when the pandemic first hit, it's like, all right, we're stuck in the house. About to work out, about to start writing a book. Like I'm about to be mad productive. And like those first couple of months, not even first couple of months, man. That first, for most of that year was just like, I don't know what to do. Where are my masks? So it's just
Right.
was really confusing and really scary for a little bit. And it took me a while to really hit my rhythm and really kind of like take control of my life. I feel like I have more control in my life actually now that the pandemic has come, because I just had to be, right? Like I just was thinking like, you know, like this could be it. Because I mean, y'all were there, you know, in March and April to a lesser extent. It just felt like, oh, this ain't good. this could be it. So I feel like I have more control of my life now, honestly, than I did before the pandemic started.
That's dope.
I was on autopilot to some extent before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of, sorry to cut you off, but like what I kind of think about is like getting back into those norms. I was just talking to my mom the other day, and I was like, it seemed like last year went by so slow. It's because so many things were unknown. Now we're in a rhythm like, oh yeah, you know, it's just pandemic. You know, we just out here in here a little bit now. Now we're about to be out here a little bit more. They talking about, oh, you got the fully vaccination. You don't got to wear your mask. I'm wearing my mask. Shut up, CDC.
I will be wearing my mask.
I'm wearing one mask now instead of two. I don't know if I want everyone to know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, you know, I'm almost fully vaccinated. Tuesday will be the 2 weeks after my vaccination. So I'm out here. Yeah. Gang. Also, but yeah, I said all that to say what scares me, I guess, gives me a little caution is getting back into that rhythm now that there's a sense of norm. So I don't know. I think that's where I'm at with it. What do you think? I think you kind of touched on this, what you're going to be taking with you. What do you think you'll leave behind? Like during the pandemic part, like what habits did you create? And then what do you think you'll leave behind now?
Something I'm leaving behind in the pandemic. That's a really good one. God, I gotta sit on that for a little bit. What am I leaving behind in the pandemic? I think, and so maybe I'll speak very broadly and say, I think even as like I tried to do things very differently, there was a sense of fear that I think I have to leave behind. I think heading now, what is this? This is the middle of May 2021, compared to you know, just any part of the pandemic. I think I'm a lot, compared to even before the pandemic, I think I'm less fearful now than I was even before the pandemic. I think I'm at peace with a lot. Not to get too deep for the intro here, but just, you know, even in my love life, I think in the past, you know, in the past, if I got something, sometimes I was, you know, I lived in fear of it ending, or in fear of, you know, what if she finds someone better? And, you know, I got a testy message right now in my DMs, and it's gonna sit there, you know, because I'm kind of at a point now in my life where it's like, whatever God wants for me, I'm just at peace with it. It is well with my soul. I've prayed about it. You know, even, and I guess, you know, we've talked about relationships in here or whatever, you know, I prayed for God to find me a wife. And I felt like what he was telling me back, and that's the thing, not to preach in here, but, you know, a lot of times we ask God for things, we tell God things, and we don't wait for an answer.
Come on, sir.
That's not a relationship. That's just you barking things at God, and he sometimes has things to say back to you. Yeah. Well, usually almost always has something back to say back to you. Yeah. And one of them, you know, when I told him that, he said, "Then stop trying to do the job for me." That's what I felt back. And so I deleted all of my dating apps after that. I deleted everything. So that I'm gonna let it be. So I'm in more peace now, in a lot of relationship things, just in anything. I think I just have a lot less fear now, because I've kind of seen a lot of things, and so I think I'll be leaving that back with me. I think I will also be leaving procrastination back with me. There was a lot of procrastination. I think at first when the pandemic first hit, I don't know if you felt like this, but I definitely felt that many times I was just waiting for something to happen. Yeah. It's just like, okay, we're just stuck in here now. So we just, I don't know. We just do something now, just kind of busy ourselves. But I think I heard a quote that was amazing. I'm gonna butcher it, but it said
Okay.
that procrastination is the arrogant belief that God needs to give you another chance. In so many words, to do what you could have done today.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that. You're kind of real
You saw it from the
close.
same person, probably. Yeah.
Probably that God owes you another day or something like
Yeah,
that.
that
It's
God
something.
owes you another day to do what you could have done today. Something kind
Yeah.
of along. I have it written on my wall. I'm visiting my folks now. If that winds up in the final cut.
Part of it, your dad's definitely gonna be in there. I think I can kind of cut around your mom a little bit, but I think just to kind of touch back on a little bit of what you said, I think what was beautiful is that in some ways, I love that God allowed this time for us to kind of learn similar lessons, right? So you were talking about before you have this kind of anxiety of like, what if this person finds someone else and they're better than me in that sense? And that very much so is my relationship too, because with what I've learned during this pandemic is like, it's okay to be without people. Like you are enough by yourself. And I think that I still got some stuff to learn, like not procrastinating like you know, taking them leaps of faith like you. But I'm glad that God has aligned us in this way. And even if it's just for a season, I'm grateful for the reason. Because I know for me, there was a lot of dark moments where I was like, I don't know how to function in this space without other people that are in line with what I believe. You know, where is my young Black Christian family? And I think that, I don't know, I guess what I want to take from this moment, from the pandemic, is definitely the lessons I've been learning about my value, but also what I want to leave behind is that doubt that I had, you know, because I think that we all had to learn, like, it's just going to be what it's going to be. And all you can do is just trust God at the end of the day. You know, you just got to keep moving with him. You got to listen to him. But all that worry and fear, if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Yes, be cautious. Yes, be careful. But God has kept me. Like, my whole family got COVID. Like, I think my brother didn't catch it. I think he caught it when it first, like, nobody knew what it was, because he was sick for a good month, coughing and carrying on. But it didn't touch me, you know, and now I'm fully vaccinated. Doesn't mean that I still might not catch COVID. I mean, I could, but it would be lesser than what it could be. But God kept me through all that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, closing out, last segment. First of all, Con, thank you for joining the podcast. It has been an amazing. Listen, I want to have you back. We could just do I don't know, once a month. Just kidding. I can't hold that. You're gonna be too busy for me. But I would love to have you back, because I think that there's a lot of things that we touched on in this one that I think we're gonna expand on. But the final question, the final segment, is called 3,000 Questions About Me. So I'm just gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
It's about you, off the top of the dome. What? It's kind of cool because we talked a lot about toxic stuff. And then looking on the bright side. And this question actually says, does looking on the bright side help you? But I want to ask you this. How does looking on the bright side help you? And what is your bright side? I added to this because that question was kind of like a yes or no.
So I mean, looking on the bright side, you know, for someone who is deeply sarcastic, and
Facts.
just says some wild stuff a lot just to get it out of my system. I am an irritating optimist. And a lot of people, like, you know, some of my friends who, you know, are just battling with stuff. I was like, geez, you can start that. I'm like, yeah, man, I can't sit here and just talk negative to you. I mean, I just have to, you know, I can't. So I think as someone who deals with a lot of like negative self-talk, it's very hard for me to do that for other people, right? I can't just let you sit in that. It's like a compulsion, and it's probably pretty annoying to people, but like, it's just, I can't just let people sit in that. I guess maybe that's partially how I express love, because like if I didn't care, I'd just be like, oh wow, that's crazy. You know, like, but you know, I just have to express it that way. So I mean, my bright side is kind of the stuff that you mentioned, you know, that I'm alive, that I'm here, that you know, what I do have, I have a loving family.
Yes.
I have you know, friends that are really will rock with me, even if they don't always understand me.
Right.
And I mean that's something very important to me, because I don't know, I'm just weird, and like you know, like I've just been in some situations where it's like, all right, I know you're not gonna actually get this, but like if you can just sit here in it, you know, like that would really be beneficial to me. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot going for me. You know, I even, you know, we're both about the same age, and just I think we're actually separate by like a couple of days, right?
Only 2 days. Con, I think yours like 18th, I'm the 20th, so yeah,
we're like only by a few days. But you know, it's you know, when you hit 30, there's like a whole, like, some people kind of have like a real existential crisis about it. And I just was like at peace with it, maybe because it was during the pandemic. And I didn't like, this is dark, but like, this is like my bright side. I was like, I don't know, fam, there's like a lot of people not alive. So I'll take this. I'll take it. Yeah. Oh, I'm 30. Oh, it's the worst thing ever. I think I'm okay. I think I'll be okay. I just, you know, I'm not like, you know, like I'm not on a ventilator tube. Like you know, I haven't had to bury anybody, you know, related by blood, at least. You know, I haven't had to, you know, just the pandemic has been rough, but it's been relatively kind to me, you know, and I think the pandemic really has kind of helped increase that bright side, because it's like, man, like I know people who buried like all of their immediate family, you know, during this, and just that wasn't my portion. And I just, you know, my parents got COVID too. It was pretty mild for them. I'm thankful, man. I'm thankful for what I have, and I want to work with what I do have, and I don't want to, that next part might be a little deep for the intro, but I don't want to Samson my gifts, if that makes sense.
Yes, I love that. I think about that too. In spite of that's just the word that keeps coming into my mind, in spite of it all, because I am a firm believer in speaking the hard, bold truth, especially to God and to yourself. I am sad, I am depressed, but in spite of, what does the Bible say? But God, you know, so it's just, he just has, like you said, he kept me in such a way, not only through sickness, but through financial situation, through Jesus, I don't know. I'm sorry. You know, he's just so good. And I like what you said, looking on the bright side. But to me, the bright side is not just everything sunshine. I'm like, oh, there's a little cloud there. But in spite of that cloud, there's still sun. You know, what do people see? I look at the glass half full and not half empty, because it could have been nothing to drink at all if we want to keep it funky. But God, he gave me something. I got
like
it.
that.
Yes, for real. Man, Con, I'm so excited to talk to you. I could talk to you a lot longer, but closing out today, is there do you want like people to find you on any social medias, or especially, hey, join YBC. Young Black and Christian, if you're young, YBC. Black and Christian. Okay,
yeah, sorry. If you're 18 to 40, and you're Black, you know, at least one of your parents is Black. I don't like getting into all that math and stuff like that, but like if you know if you're Black or not, you know, if you're Black, you know, and you just, you know, want some more community, definitely reach out to us. Young Black and Christian, young Black and Christian. We also have a Facebook page like that, where there's going to be some events streamed to there pretty soon, so keep your eye out for that. You can find me on Facebook as well. I just have like a general brand, Thank You Based Con. Thank you YOUBASEDKON. I am on Instagram at the same thing. Thank you, Based Con. It's just all one word. I am also on Twitter. The U, however, is just one letter. Thank you, Based Con. I believe in branding clearly. So yeah, follow me on everything. I'll be posting some more stuff to my personal brand pretty soon. That's gonna kind of get a revamp soon. And yeah. So just I'll be out here saying stuff. I have a blog too, basedmiseducation.wordpress.com. Yeah, so I haven't posted in there in a little bit. I will soon. But
out here.
Yeah.
Out here. It's the branding for me. Awesome. Well, you guys know, if you've been listening to this, you know where to find me. Also, check out the YouTube page. Forgot to say that. Gonna add that in the beginning because I totally forgot to say that. YouTube, Angela Elise Music, like Music Soul Child, fire.
Yes.
And as always, be real, be you, do what you came to do, and be the light that you want to see. Peace.
Things coming together so